This is Danny Figaro, who used to be part of the Marvel bullpen. He knows more about Marvel right now than I do. So ask him your questions and I'll see you around. No, I was mentioning to somebody inside. I do a lot of these panels. I usually get the same questions, or pretty much the same questions all the time. And I'm always afraid, when I answer the question, there will be people in the audience who've been in previous panels, and they'll be hearing the same thing they've heard before. So I try to find new answers, but it's very difficult to find new answers without lying. So there's no telling what I'll say, whatever I'll tell you, and not be the truth.
Smartphone, so they can check immediately what you're saying.
Now another thing, I don't hear as well as I used to, so I won't hear you when you ask the question. He'll probably hear it, because he's young with good ears. He'll repeat the question to me, and then we'll see what we can do. So keep them short, or else I'll be listening to this guy for a half hour.
Universe will be. So I'm going to ask you a few questions to start, then we'll get the folks here.
Sure, you got the authority.
Of course, I got the microphone, I got the book, I got the book with your face on it, I got everything. What are you working on now? What's coming from Power Entertainment? What's the inside?
Well, we decided I've done enough for America. Look at the great country I've made of this. I'm going to try to help some other nations. So right now, my company, POW Entertainment, and of course you know that POW, P-O-W, stands for Purveyors of Wonder. POW Entertainment is working with a Chinese motion picture company, and we have a new superhero I came up with. I'll tell you the name, but you got to keep it quiet. He's called the Annihilator. It's not just a Chinese movie, this is for the whole world, but he happens to be a Chinese person. We're also working on a movie for India. I have a new hero called Chakra, and there'll be more about him later. He's now an animated cartoon in India, but they like him so much they could turn him into a feature film. And we have a movie coming out on the Hub Television Network, if you know about that. It's called Stanley's Mighty Seven. I can't tell you too much about it, but it opens up in a few days. Keep watching the Hub Network. It's one of the only cartoons. It's a movie, animated, and there are going to be 3 of them. This is the first of the 3 movies. It's the world's first reality superhero cartoon, because there are real people in it, and naturally you can guess who one of the real people is. I don't want to, I hate to sound boastful, but I am absolutely magnificent. All right, now go ahead and do your worst.
Speaking of how magnificent you are, I think most of us have seen your cameo in the Thor sequel. Thor, where they're in the lunatic asylum. How did you, was that
Did you have to play out the lunatic asylum?
I got it, that was a lot of fun to do.
It was fun, but I resented that. When I first did that little cameo, the director gave me a lot of lines to send, and then the movie was running long, so he finally cut it down to, what day is that?
I have my shoe
But
back.
before I said, did I have my shoe back, I had made a long speech and they cut it out. I want everyone of you to write a letter to Marvel. When you see the cameo I have in Captain America, that is really fun. We'll get it together. It's I don't have one in X-Men. I was in Toronto, and they were shooting the film in Montreal, and they said, Stan, if you can come up here quickly, we'll give you a cameo, but I couldn't. I had to go back to New York, so I didn't make it. But then I thought of something. I don't know if you thought of this. If I'm not in one of the movies, that movie will do better than ever. People will sit through the movie and they'll say, wow, I missed his cameo. So what do? You miss my cameo. You run to the box office, you buy another ticket. Oh, don't miss the Agent the Shield. Other than that.
No, that's the TV show.
The TV show, but it opens up Tuesday, either next Tuesday or the next Tuesday, I don't know. What's wrong with it, but it's very soon. Obviously, I steal the show. It's more than a cameo. It is actually a supporting role.
We will start taking questions. Are people lined up? Or, yes, right there.
Well, you've asked all the questions.
Well, that's on the show. Let people ask. Yes, sir. Yeah. Last year, we were told that to hear the stories of how great of a guy you were, we were supposed to ask on how you met your wife, but no one ever did. So here I am asking how this happened. He wants to know how you met your wife, because last year they were supposed to ask you, but nobody did. So how did you meet your wife?
What do you mean you were supposed to ask?
The guy
Who made that law?
Whoever the criminals we had in the moderator, not me.
Well, it's a long story, settle back there. When most guys who draw, when they're young, they like to draw pretty girls. I always drew one pretty girl who, to me, was the essence of what a pretty girl should look like. I had that one face and figure, I drew it all the time. So when I came out of the Army, a friend of mine arranged a blind date for me with a hat model at a hat modeling agency. Why not? So I went to the agency, I knocked on the door. I didn't meet the hat model I was supposed to meet, but the girl who answered the door was the head model there. And she looked exactly like the girl I had been drawing all my life. And she was gorgeous. And on top of that, she was English. And to me, any girl with an English accent, oh man. And she said something like, may I help you? And I didn't know what to say. I think I said, I love you. Anyway, I took her to lunch and we got married a short time later. And the funny thing is, she's more talented than I am. One day, we had been married about 20, 25 years, and she said to me, Stan, I'd like to write a book. And I said, okay, good luck. She said, get me a pen and sharpen some pencils, and I want to write a book. I got her a big, thick pen and I sharpened some pencils. I forgot about it. About 3 months later, she brings me all these pages, handwritten, said, I wrote a book, can you sell it for me? So I gave it to a typist. I had to pay her to retype all of it so you could read it. And then I took the pages to an agent I know. And I said, look, she's my wife. She spent a couple months writing it. Be gentle when you tell her you can't sell it. Be nice. The agent called me 2 weeks later. I sold it. Dell Publishing bought it as a pocketbook, and it was their lead pocketbook for that month. It was called The Pleasure Palace. A real sexy novel. I said, where did you learn about all this stuff? Anyway, she sold that novel. She had also been an actress. She was a singer. She was a dancer. She was incredible. But I was stupid, because when we got married, I tried to be very macho in those days, and I said, hey, no wife of mine is going to work. And she said, okay. And she could have been supporting me all the time. Anyway, that's how I met her, and that's what happened, and she's a great novelist, and I'm jealous of her.
Who's next? Is there,
I think that was such a long answer. Well, we have to go now.
Somebody over here? Over here, yes.
I'm Drew Fishburne, and I'm from Washington. And I was wondering, what in all the new Marvel movies you've been in all of them, and I was wondering which one was your favorite.
You want to know which Marvel movie that you've been in is your favorite?
All of them. Do you think I want to get any director mad at me? No, I love them all, seriously. I think they're spectacular and wonderful. Even the ones I don't have a cameo in. Those aren't as good as the ones I do.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from Tacoma, Washington. Electro is obviously one of your classic villains from the good old days, and I was wondering what you thought of Jamie Foxx's performance in the upcoming movie.
What do you think?
The new
Jamie Foxx as Electro in the upcoming Spider-Man movie.
I haven't seen it yet, but I think he'll be great. I know he's excited about it, and he's very talented in the fact that he wants to do it so much. He'll be terrific. Incidentally, it's not that I don't hear. For example, I heard what you said. I couldn't make out the words. It sounded to me like, I have a problem with irony. That's what you said.
I can't see. Listen, yes.
How can you see? It's pitch black.
That makes it hard.
Hey, wait a minute. We're up there. That screen over there so we can see ourselves while we do it. Where are you? All right. I wish you'd all be a little more serious.
Okay, so my name's Connor Wood, and I'm from Kansas, Washington. So my question is, out of all the comic books that you've written, which was like your favorite to write?
Out of all the comic books you've written, every single one, 1 million of them, what is your favorite to write?
Probably whichever one was the shortest. I can't tell you, because I enjoy writing all of them. You know, when you write something, you get an idea. And if you think the idea is a good idea, say, oh boy, and you write it, and you're all excited, and if it turns out good, you're happy. And later on, you get another idea, you go through it again. I'm not good at favorites. For example, people often ask me, what was your favorite movie? And I'll mention one that I liked, and then I'll remember, wait, there's another one I like just as much. But how about that one? In my briefcase, because I get asked that so often, I have a list of about 40 movies. And when anybody says, what's your favorite movie? I read off all 40 of them. I don't know how you can have a favorite. There are so many good things all over. And especially the stories I wrote, each one is better than the other. But if I had to have a favorite, I'm sorry, you waved your hand,
No.
and I interrupt. Maybe you just have to scratch your head, I don't know. Yeah, all right. And if I had to think of a favorite, maybe it's the first Fantastic Four story, because that's what started the whole thing, really. So, I don't know that it's my favorite, but it's the most historically important one. How's that for you?
Someone with large ears who has a question, yes.
Is there a character that you created that you were surprised when it became popular?
Is there a character you created that surprised you by how popular it became?
Oh no, I expected all of them. And I didn't. Let me think for a minute. How did I surprise me? No, not really. You know what happened? The Fantastic Four surprised me because I don't know if I told you the story, you've heard it before, but I was getting tired of writing these comics because I was trying to write stories to please my publisher. And he had very little respect for the readers. He thought they were either very, very young kids or illiterate grown-ups. So he used to say to me, don't bother putting in a lot of dialogue and don't worry about characterization or planning. Just give me a lot of action. The readers want a lot of action. Well, I wanted to make a living, so I kept writing the kind of stories he wanted. And after a while it got to me. I said to my wife, I'm going to quit. Remember I told you about my wife, how brilliant she is. So she said to me, and this is one of the turning points in history, she said to me, why don't you write a comic the way you'd like to write it? You want to quit anyway, so if he fires you, it's no big deal, but you'll get it out of your system. So I wrote the Fantastic Four, where I tried to make the characters have more personality and make them a little more realistic, even though they have these superpowers. And I forget what the question was, but the book worked, and that's what started everything. Then my publisher said to me after the sales figures came in, he said, hey, that was a pretty good book, why don't you do some more like it? So, I forget what the next one was, but we were off and running. Did I answer the question? What was the question? It surprised me that it would be that popular, because I was stupid. I always thought the expert is always right, and my publisher was the expert. He had been in business for years, he had a lot of money, I had to do what he told me. So here I'm writing a book that goes against what the expert wanted. So I was surprised that it sold well, and I learned never again to trust the experts. If you're going to be cleverer than me, you're not going to be on this panel.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Nathan Kruger of Forestville, Oregon. I had a question for you. I've been fighting my friend Tyler for years on this. Who would win out of the fight, Iron Man versus the Hulk?
I heard Iron Man.
Who would win in a fight, Iron Man or the Hulk?
Now I'm going to give you one of the most carefully thought out answers. You ready for the answer? And when I tell you, you're going to say it is so logical. Why didn't I think of this? The answer is, was the question from over there?
Oh, yeah.
The answer is, whoever writes the story. It depends on who's writing. If the writer wants the Hulk to win, he'll win. That's all. You see, I don't want to shock you, and I don't want it to go any further, but these are fictitious. They shot the movie in some faraway place that's too far for me to go to. Usually, they shoot a scene somewhere around Los Angeles, and it's easy for me to drop in and do the cameo. But if they're shooting something far away, then, I don't know, I can't take a trip to Europe or so just for a 1-minute cameo. And like I told you, if I'm not in it, they'll sell more tickets for people.
Somebody on this side, is there a question? Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Levi. I'm from Springfield, Oregon, and I'm wondering, how did you find out the way to create a symbiote?
He wants to know how you came to create a symbiote, although I don't believe.
Now I can't even hear him.
Like Ben?
A symbiote, yeah.
Like Ben. I can feel that. You want somebody to create the character you're going to create called Ben. A symbiote.
I'm sorry, I didn't even know what the word symbiote meant. Somebody else created venom, and I had to go to the dictionary and look up symbiote. Still not sure what the hell it means.
That's why I said the word. Who's over here next?
Hi, my name is David. I'm from Virginia. I wanted to ask, was Mr. Impossible Man your funniest character that you made?
Was the Impossible Man the funniest character you ever came up with?
Well, it was probably one of them. I thought Early and Four was pretty funny. And you don't remember. Years ago, I wrote what we books like Archie. And we did Millie the model, and my friend Irma, and Georgie, and Willie. And that was before all of your time. But they were very funny. At least I thought so. And yeah, I had a few other funny characters as superheroes in the superhero stories, but it seems to me I can't remember what they were now. Somebody will tell me eventually. Actually, the thing was kind of funny. I think I used to give him some funny lines. I loved the thing, by the way. I'm sorry that they had 4 movies, that they're not making more of them featuring the thing, but it's a shame when they made the first FF movie, they just didn't get Dr. Doom right. No, they had done him right. That movie would have been such a monstrous hit. But I digress. Spider-Man was funny. Spider-Man is intensely dramatic and real. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, somebody over here, yes.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Crawford. I'm from Hillsboro, Oregon. My question is, Stan, how did you feel when movie studios first approached you and talked about wanting to take your comics and create them and make them a live-action feature-length film and bring them to life on the big screen?
How did you feel when studios first started approaching you to make your characters into movies?
This will be the shortest answer I ever give. I felt good.
Somebody over on the side, yes.
I love these panels.
Hi, I'm Corey Hammer from Corvallis, Oregon. My question was, since Marvel has such an illustrious history of writing characters who have very dark histories, or at least have some sort of what I would call realistic attributes to them, like, for example, Daredevil being blind, Spider-Man being a quote-unquote geek. I was wondering, was that purposely intentional on your part? Was that go back to the part where you wanted to create characters that you wanted to read about?
I understand that, but you have theme types that were.
Does the realism of, was the
Take
realism,
your time, I'm resting.
was the realism of Marvel intentional?
Was the realism of Marvel intentional?
Absolutely. That was the whole thing I was trying for. That's why I said all the stories in New York instead of in, what are the names of Batman City, Gotham City, Metropolis.
That's not Batman City.
I didn't want to make things up. I wanted it real. And I wanted to read it to think I could be walking down the street and I'll bump into Peter Parker, who lived in Forest Hills, which was the neighborhood in New York. I'm the only guy who tries to make superhero stories realistic.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
Hi, I'm Genevieve. I want to say
say thank you, first of all, for coming to Portland.
I was here a year or two ago, and you were great then. You're probably the same people. I don't know.
I wanted to know, you have created so many characters over the years, and out of all of your characters, either hero or villain, who would you say you are most proud to say you created?
Of all the characters you've been involved in creating, who is the one that you're most proud to say you created?
Well, that's another hard one to answer. I really love them all. And the ones that are the most popular, I'm the most proud of. So I guess I'm the most proud of Spider-Man. And thanks to Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man Downey, or Rob as I call him, is one of the nicest guys in the world. We've got man friendly, and nobody can be Iron Man the way he is. I mean, he is so perfect.
My dear Generalissimo, I was wondering what it was like working with Kevin Smith on the set of Mallrats.
What's it like working with Kevin Smith instead of Mallrats?
I love Kevin Smith. He is the nicest, dirty talking guy. But it was a lot of fun, and actually that was a starring role. I mean, I had a real role in the movie. Tell you a funny thing about it. As I remember, in the movie, I was giving the guy who played the lead, I forget his name, romance advice. He had broken up with his girlfriend or something, and he couldn't get over it. And I said to him something to the effect of, "Hey, don't feel that bad. It happens to everybody. Look at me. There was a girl years ago that I was in love with, and it just didn't work out. But I've never forgotten her. I always think of her." Well, the movie came out, and my wife saw it. This is the first thing I hear when we leave the theater. "Tell me a little more about this girl." Jody, it's a movie. I was reading lines. I had to buy her a fur coat.
Yes.
Hi, Sammy. I just wanted to know, what is your definition of a superhero? Do you think it's the superpowers that make a superhero, or their feats of heroism that makes a superhero?
What is it that makes a superhero a superhero? Is it their powers, or their character, or their feats?
Well, I don't think you could be a superhero unless you have superpowers. You can be a hero without superpowers. But to be a superhero, I guess there has to be something super about you. And I'm not the world's greatest authority on superheroes, by the way. I would normally say go to the dictionary, but nobody uses dictionaries anymore. Now we have computers and you can Google anything. Googling is wonderful, I think Google is the greatest superhero.
Hi, my name is Evan from Boise, Idaho. And I'd like to ask, is there any validity to the story that the Avengers almost didn't exist because of the delayed release of Daredevil #1 going to press?
He wants to know, I'm sure you'll remember every detail of this, is there any truth to the rumor that the Avengers almost did not exist except that Daredevil #1 was late for press and they needed to slot something else in? Is that how it happened?
I don't think so. All our books we usually late for press. Living at Marvel in the bullpen in those days was constant torment because there was a time we were turning out 40, 50 books a month. I couldn't even count them. And they were all my responsibility. And I had a small office, really small, just room for a desk and a couple of chairs. Somebody came to see me, they said one of the chairs. And on every wall, there, and there. Did I shut off the mic? Well, there you're missing it. Anyway, we had a big production schedule, so on every wall in my office, which was small, on that wall, that wall, that wall, and that wall, I had a clock. So no matter a calendar. So no matter where I was facing, I knew what day it was and what time it was, and there were 3 comic books that had to go to the printer that day. I was a nervous wreck, as you can tell by me now. Oh, the question about Daredevil stuff. The books were always late, and we were always working overtime, and I was always calling the artists, where are you with the artwork? Hurry up, or I'll get Vince to let it in. Nobody wanted to let it in. He was still good inker. I don't know why they didn't want him. Anyway, no, it wasn't because Daredevil or something was late. It was the Avengers. What happened was I realized that there were DC, which was then called National, had a book called the Justice League or the Justice Society or some stupid name. I figured, hey, why don't we show them how to do it? So I did the Avengers, and we showed them. They give me somebody to criticize all the time.
Hi, I'm Tina from Pullman. You did a lot of great cameos, especially like the Hugh Hefner type. But my question is about Princess Diaries too. How did you get that cameo? What was going on there?
Princess Diaries?
God knows. The director is a good friend of mine. Unfortunately, I forgot his name. But anyway, we were very friendly. And he said to me, hey, would you like to have a role in the Princess Diaries? And the word no doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I said, yeah, I love it. And there I was in the Princess Diaries, who was stealing the show as always.
Hi, my name is Brittany Bella, and I would say for me, all of us think for the greatest memories of our childhood and making us feel that we're not strange when we really are. My question is,
She wanted to thank you for the precious memories of her childhood and for making them feel that they're not strange, that they're places to fit in.
I'll show you why I'm known for my clever responses. You're welcome.
my question was, how did you feel about the Avengers and X-Men versus each other?
How do you feel about the Avengers versus X-Men comics before each other?
I felt it was a good idea to sell magazines. We're always looking for something that'll make people want. You know, when you've been doing certain titles for years, your biggest worry is, what can I do that's new? What can I do to excite the reader's interest? So I'll have this hero fight this hero, or I'll have this team fight this team, or I'll kill a character. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but writers are like God. A writer can kill a character, he can bring the character back to life, he can do anything because he's writing it in fiction. And I forgot the question.
I'm rattled by the Flash and Batman right there, question.
Is there a Batman somewhere?
Right there, there's the Flash and Batman. There's somebody else before them, so who's the next person on the side?
I want that man arrested.
What was your favorite suit of Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield?
Who was your favorite Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield?
Now, I really think both of them are great. Tobey Maguire was wonderful. And I remember when we announced that he was going to be Spider-Man, oh man, all of the fans, what do you want him for? He's not a superhero, blah, 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 blah. But the minute the movie came out with him, he was perfect. when they heard that McGuire, Andrew Garfield. When they heard that Andrew Garfield was going to be Spider-Man. Oh no, not him, he doesn't look enough like you, and blah, blah, blah. He's wonderful also. Marvel, and now Disney, Marvel, Disney, we're very lucky. We can pick almost any actor we want because they all want to be in our movies. And that's a stroke of luck for us. I think Garfield is great. I think McGuire was great. Someday Garfield will say, I've had enough of it. We'll find a third guy. If I were a little younger, but unfortunately. And whoever that is, he'll be great too. Hey, you're right. I could wear a costume and they wouldn't know. I'm a little bit too skinny, I think.
Yes. I was saying.
And also, I was wondering your thoughts on the Superior Spider-Man storyline.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to be met.
Do you have any thoughts on the current Superior Spider-Man storyline in Spider-Man where Dr. Octopus has taken over Spider-Man's body?
Whoever dreamed that was a genius. But like I told you, they're always looking for some way to keep the readers interested. That sounds like a good way. I invited them to thinking of it. I'm glad I don't have to write it. What was the question?
That was working that story.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't read it yet. I've heard, I don't have time to read the comics anymore. I'm always doing dumb panels like this. I don't mean that. This is one. All these panels are wonderful. I wish I could spend my life just doing panels. It's better than working. But the question again. I haven't read it. I don't read the comics. And the only way I learn what's going on in the comics is when I come to a panel and people ask me questions about it. And then I say to the guy, what the hell is that all about?
There's a subscription stand. That's the end of the books. Over here, yes, sir.
Oh, couple questions. The first one's really quick. Can you award everybody in here a no prize right now?
Can you award everyone in the room a no prize?
Well, I do have the authority. And you've been a great audience. Now, is there anybody you'd like not to be part of that? Has anybody offended you?
Yeah, but I think we'll be magnanimous.
On behalf of the authority vested, which I gave to myself, I hereby award each and every one of you a Mighty Marvel No Prize.
Okay, now my real question. How did the book Seduction of the Innocent affect Marvel when it first came out?
How did Frederick Wortham's book Seduction of the Innocent affect Marvel when it came out?
Well, I did a lot of debates with Wortham. I won them all, of course. And it didn't affect us that much because he was mostly against violence. And our stories really weren't violent. To me, there's a difference between violence and action. We had a lot of action, but we didn't have things that were, I thought, too violent. So we went along okay, but it affected the whole industry. There was this company, EC Comics, which also, is that their name? Yeah. They also published Manic. And they had some really gruesome stories in their books, and he mostly went after them. And they ended up not publishing their books anymore, just staying with Manic. But this guy Wortham was a nut. There was something strange about it. When I was a kid, about 14 years old, I read a book, and I forget the name of it now, but it had to do with a murder case, some kid who had murdered some grown-up. And it was written by a psychiatrist, and it was a very learned book, an analysis of that kid and why he did what he did. And it was very interesting. I don't know how I happened to read it, but I read that book. Years later, when Wortham attacked the comics, I realized he was the guy who had written that book, which I loved. I thought it was a wonderful book. And I felt betrayed by the Smith. And that got nothing to do with anything. I just sort of mentioned it.
Time for a couple more, yes, sir.
How do you know there's time for a couple more?
I have a time device.
Yeah, but I don't want anybody frustrated. They're not asking you a question, you don't give them a chance to answer, and you're going to be following me around all day.
Let's keep going. Yes, sir. You know you can get multimedia shit today. Yes, sir.
My name is Andrew Ashcraft from San Diego, Oregon. Last year I was watching your biography on Netflix, and it talks about how your first typewriter that you typed all your first comic books on was destroyed. I was wondering if you just tried to do something with it, like if you tried to fix it, or do you have some great like monument to it, or is it still just a thousand pieces somewhere?
So this typewriter,
Like, what did you try to do with that that was destroyed?
he saw the documentary about you on Netflix, and you talk about your beloved typewriter that got destroyed. What was the aftermath of that?
I must really love my wife because I didn't divorce her at that moment. Can you imagine? I wrote all those stories, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men, the Hulk, Iron Man, Daredevil, Avengers, all of them, on a little Remington noiseless portable typewriter that I owned. One day, my wife and I were having one of our usual arguments, and she got angry. I know it's impossible for you to think of anything I would say or do to make anyone angry. But she got angry. She said, "Joe, this is not bad. The poor people are hearing it." And she took the typewriter in a fit of anger and smashed it on the floor and it broke into a million pieces. Now, if I had that typewriter today, the typewriter on which all those characters were created and written, can you imagine what it would go for at an auction? And if you wonder do I really love my wife, I'm still married to her after that. So that's the story of the typewriter. People have said to me, go find another typewriter and say that's the one. But I can't because I stupidly told this story about it.
Mr. J. Garrett, the Flash, has a question.
Hi, I'm Bruce Brown, from Washington, and I was wondering, what inspired you to create comics?
What inspired you to create comics? What inspired you to write the comics?
Greed. I had to make a living. It was my job. It wasn't inspiration, it was desperation.
So we'll take two more. So, sir.
Hello, Stanley. Does my voice sound familiar?
Does his voice sound familiar? Should it sound familiar?
What? Technically, what I'm trying to say is, last year, I'm the kid who asked you if I could name a cat after you. I'm back.
He's the kid who asked you last year if you could name a cat after you, and now he's back. His name is Cat after you.
Well, what did you name the cat?
Stanley.
Stan?
Yep.
Well, I admire your taste. I bet it's a great cat. If not, get rid of him. Does it give you a great feeling of power? You have all these people, and you decide who will respond to, and you decide when this thing will end.
And yet, as you know, with great power stand. Batman. Yes, Mr. Man.
Hi, I'm Batman, and I just want to know, where do you get your inspiration for your villains?
Batman wants to know where you get inspiration for your villains. For your villains. For your villains.
I just think of people I know. Basically, I just come up with a name that sounds villainous. Green Goblin. First I thought of the Goblin, but that sounds funny. But you put the word green in front of it, Green Goblin. What could be better than Dr. Doom and Dr. Octopus? It's funny. I'm the only guy, I think, that gives characters nicknames like Doc Ock. I mean, you never read a DC book and have people calling Batman Batty, you know? Or we call Spider-Man Spidey. I love nicknames. I don't like him well enough to give him
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Now there are no prizes, but it's, and hey, you're a great one.